like clock. I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
For this video, I want to take a couple seconds to pretty much reply to a couple comments. I think BoruShiki is coming out next chapter. Alright, now me personally, I think Naruto and Sasuke, they're in a tough position. I feel like the only way that they could potentially beat Isshiki Otsutsuki is if they actually do get some help from a character like BoruShiki, aka BoruShiki taking over Boruto's body. But Isshiki Otsutsuki is a smart guy. He's probably not going to try to actually kill Boruto. And I speculated about this in my review. I think if BoruShiki understands that Boruto is not necessarily in any immediate danger, we're probably not going to get to see BoruShiki. I think one of the best things that we could possibly hope for is Boruto actually taking it into his own hands and utilizing the Karma Seal to the best of its abilities. Judging by from what we've seen with BoruShiki, there's a bunch of things that Boruto can potentially do. Of course, Boruto, when he does turn into BoruShiki, he brings like 1,000 years of battle experience and of course a bunch of chakra control, but I think that Boruto can potentially do the exact same thing. I take that back, probably not exactly the same thing, but you guys understand, probably to a degree. And not only that, I feel like Isshiki Otsutsuki actually hinted towards this in the last chapter. After Isshiki Otsutsuki told Boruto that his Karma Seal was at 80%, he basically told Boruto like, yo, I want to see some of that power. And because of that, I feel like it's definitely a very good chance that Boruto actually does utilize the second stage of his Karma Seal. First things first is stage 2 of the Karma Seal. If you guys do recall, a couple of chapters ago, Kawaki entered this stage. It looked a lot like BoruShiki's, basically the Karma Seal with the horn attached to it. And of course, in that form, I'm pretty sure they get a substantial power boost. Now, if Boruto can potentially tap into that form with his subconscious, like if Boruto is actually controlling his body, I think then Naruto and Sasuke are going to have a very good chance. As I said, I don't really think that BoruShiki is actually going to get involved if Isshiki Otsutsuki doesn't necessarily try to attack him with anything too lethal. Of course, if Isshiki Otsutsuki isn't necessarily trying to kill Boruto, and Boruto is utilizing stage 2 of the Karma Seal, plus Naruto, plus Sasuke, is going to be a very tough scene for a character like Isshiki Otsutsuki to potentially handle. The only question is, can Boruto actually tap into stage 2 of the Karma Seal? In this next comment, my guy basically said Isshiki still has Sasuke's sword. I think the buck 50 scar is coming up soon. Alright, if you guys don't really know exactly what my man's talking about, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know. When we actually did see Boruto at his teenage level, we seen Boruto with this particular scar right here. And I do want to make a full video talking about how I personally think that Boruto is probably going to get his scar. And it's definitely possible that Boruto gets a scar in this upcoming chapter, mainly because Boruto right now has on Sasuke's headband. And if you guys do know, when we do see Boruto at his teenage level, the scar on his eyes basically goes perfectly with the Sasuke headband. And just to add to that, it would kind of make sense for Boruto to actually get the scar in this particular fight, mainly because Isshiki Otsutsuki, he's not really trying to kill Boruto. So if Isshiki Otsutsuki can actually injure Boruto and pretty much immobilize him, that would probably be absolutely ideal, man, because if he does try any lethal force, then of course BoruShiki would then take over Boruto's body, and then Isshiki Otsutsuki might actually be done for. But if we can potentially assume that Boruto can actually master or actually enter stage 2 of the Karma Seal and then be extremely overpowered at that particular point, whether he enters that form on accident or he enters that form mainly because he's raging, we have absolutely no idea. But if that is the case, then I'm pretty sure Boruto would then get the dojutsu in his eye, and of course Isshiki Otsutsuki would probably think that right there is probably going to be troublesome, mainly because Boruto is supposed to be the little brat that's just viewing Naruto and Sasuke getting completely destroyed. And as I said, Isshiki Otsutsuki can't necessarily risk BoruShiki feeling the need to come out, so he's going to try whatever he can to pretty much immobilize Boruto and pretty much dim all of his senses. And of course, taking out his dojutsu would probably be a very good way in attempting to do so. Now, another comment says, there are 2 reasons why Boruto's Otsutsuki transformation is 80% complete. One is because of the proximity to Kawaki and their resonance, and the other is because Boruto already had high Otsutsuki genetics to begin with. BoruShiki lucked out with his vessel. I think that right there is absolutely accurate. I didn't necessarily bring that up in my review. If you guys didn't necessarily know, Boruto already came with Otsutsuki genetics, and BoruShiki even touched on that right before he actually gave his Karma Seal to Boruto. Potentially, I think that's why he actually gave his Karma Seal to Boruto, even though in that particular situation, BoruShiki probably didn't even have a choice. The Otsutsuki genetics are visible because of the jougan that Boruto has. Now, specifically exactly like what kind of genetic mutation Boruto has in terms of the Otsutsuki members, we have absolutely no idea. We understand that Tonetti did something to Boruto, mainly because when Isshiki basically visited Tonetti, he told Tonetti like, yo, I seen what you did to that boy. Now, of course, they didn't necessarily go in depth, and I'm pretty sure in the future they're probably going to tell us a lot more about exactly what Tonetti did. And potentially, I really do think that Tonetti is probably going to make more appearances in the Boruto anime and the Boruto manga. But when, I have no idea. They still have my man sealed. But regardless, until then, we're probably going to be left in the dark. But I think my man's right here was absolutely spot on. A big reason why Boruto's Otsutsuki transformation is going so fast is because Boruto already came equipped with Otsutsuki genetics. That right there is definitely a big factor. Now, the next comment said, man, this chapter had poor pacing. For a monthly manga, I expect more than recaps and better pacing. Now, I'm going to 1000% agree with this. The only real problem that I have with this is the fact that It was a great chapter, and I said it in my review. I think that this chapter right here is possibly one of the best chapters that we did see of Boruto, mainly because of the actual fight. We have Isshiki Otsutsuki 100%. This is not Isshiki Otsutsuki weakening the body of Jigen. Isshiki Otsutsuki 100% versus Naruto and Sasuke. Boruto is not involved right now, just Naruto and Sasuke. However, the downfall of this is the fact that it's in manga form. Of course, when the anime comes out and this is actually animated, it's going to be super hyped. It's probably going to be arguably the best episode of Boruto to date. But for right now, when it's in manga form, it's probably not going to look good. Now, that stance right there is just for the fans. I feel like a lot of the power scales out there, they're probably going to be like creaming themselves, mainly because they get to actually figure out how strong this Isshiki Otsutsuki actually is. I've gotten plenty of people telling me that this Isshiki Otsutsuki right now, full form and everything, is potentially weaker than how he was actually in the body of Jigen. And of course, this chapter put all those questions to rest. And it's not only that, shout out to Seth the Programmer and Swag Kage, but I'm pretty sure they're probably going to potentially come out with a video where it's like Isshiki Otsutsuki versus Momoshiki Otsutsuki or Isshiki Otsutsuki versus Kage. And this chapter right here was extremely insightful. Now, of course, I do want to point out the next chapter, Boruto's probably going to get involved. As I said earlier, if that happened from the jump, then they couldn't really accurately scale it. Of course, they would still be able to scale it, but it wouldn't necessarily be as accurate. And I feel like the Boruto writers understood that, which is pretty much why they gave us this particular fight scene. All right, the last guy I'm going to go over, this guy Jay Nuchi, pretty much said Naruto and Sasuke are getting disrespected to another level. I rate Isshiki. This guy is too cold. All right, I agree 1000%. And I feel like this right here is definitely going to be a very tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. Even though a lot of people like to say, oh, I want Naruto and Sasuke to have a challenge, people don't want this. And I know this guy Jay Nuchi wasn't necessarily implying that it was too much. I think he actually enjoys it, but I think a lot of people are kind of taking this like to the edge. I feel like a lot of people are actually also saying that Naruto in the previous chapter, not chapter 50 but chapter 49, was getting disrespected by Isshiki Otsutsuki. I'm like, yeah, he's supposed to be getting disrespected by Isshiki Otsutsuki. It's almost like in the previous episode of the Boruto anime, when Boruto and the rest of Team 7 got completely destroyed by Deepa. Yeah, that's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be that difficult. If it wasn't necessarily that difficult, we wouldn't really be here. Like, the arc really wouldn't be that interesting. But because it is that difficult, because Naruto and Sasuke actually do have this challenge that they do actually have to overcome, it makes it a lot more interesting. I feel like a lot of Naruto and Sasuke hardcore fanboys understand that, but they're just having a hard time grasping that Naruto and Sasuke are actually getting destroyed by a very strong character. That's why, in my opinion, a lot of people do like to say that Naruto and Sasuke were quote-unquote nerfed. They want to separate Naruto and Sasuke from the war arc at the end of Naruto Shippuden from these Naruto and Sasuke. I just want like a news flash. This Naruto and Sasuke right now would absolutely demolish the Naruto and Sasuke back from the war arc. But I do want to know what you guys think about these comments in the comment section below. And I know I'm asking you guys to comment to more comments to more comments to more comments. I don't know. It's like an ongoing cycle. But let me know what you guys think. It's me, your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.